Hello, Stellar people, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Trey, and today we're going to start a devlog of sorts of what I'm calling the big, bad, bodacious, scary goals. But my goal was to make 10 books, but we're going to start with book one. And book one, the subject is Willis Henry, and this book is 130 pages. But the total first book is 420 some odd pages, which for physical reference is about 3 of these. And so that is the goal. Now, I've been stalled out on this project for years now, and I think it's out of fear. So I'm trying to use this public forum platform as a way to get myself going, so that I don't stall out. And every quarter, I think I'm going to give a report on how this thing is going. But today is devlog, comic making log number 1, where we will talk about the whys and hows of this big, bad, bodacious, scary goal. So let's get started. So this whole saga started with the idea that came to me one day. Could I make a book? Could I write, draw, color a book? And that started with just the idea. And from that idea came Willis Henry. And from Willis Henry spiraled out into much more, many varied characters that he could meet, and a story of a child who wants to rescue his dad from an evil alien. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And while I was making just the first 2 chapters, which comprises this book, I started to think of other books that I could make. I then saw the possibilities before me. And those possibilities turned into this list. One idea spiraled into many ideas, like gallery shows, a lot of Willis Henry books, and all of the various other books and ideas that I could make. And it just grew into this list, which right now is terrifying for me. This list is scary because I don't know if I can do all of this. This looks impossible to me right now. So instead of thinking about the list, we have to now go back to the very beginning and start with the book that I originally intended to make, and that is Willis Henry. All right, so let's talk about where I am right now in the Willis Henry comic book making. This is the PDF of book 1. And so all of these pages are done, dusted, inked, colored, speech balloons, all of that. So 129 is the total page count, approximately 130. So that was for books, chapters 1 and 2. I try to break everything up into chapters to make it a little bit more containable for myself. Chapter 3. In chapter 3, so I have a file for chapter 3, and I have my pages all here. Done in Clip Studio Paint from 1 to 97. It's 97 pages. On page 1, I got some framing, I've got the characters inked, colored, and I've got speech balloons. It does not have backgrounds yet, but we'll talk about backgrounds in a moment. So that is page 1 of chapter 3, page 97. I am still in the process of working that. Now I do have the PNGs of the inks and colors from 1 to 75, laid out, inked, colored, no word balloons yet, but we are on the way through chapter 3, which is 97 pages, 75 of which are inked colored. So that brings us to, and so I have little page breaks to distinguish where a new one chapter ends and the new chapter begins. And so I make these chapters as very, very rough thumbnails with some framing. I don't have any text on them. Sometimes I write out the dialogue, but most times it's all mostly images for myself. And so I do all these images, composite them together, and hopefully in order that makes sense to me. But chapter 4 is 107 or 106 before the chapter break. And so this needs to be all inked and then colored, text and backgrounds added. Chapter 5 I have in the same condition where it's, again, the page break or a break from chapter to chapter. Oh, this is the final page. And it is 86 pages. And 420 is the official page count. All these images, this is more like my thumbnail version of the comic. So I do a thumbnail version for every single chapter. And luckily that is done, right? So I know where I'm going in the total comic. It's just, I just need to get there, right? I have the scaffolding. I just need to get there. So that is where we are at page-wise. But let's talk about backgrounds, because I'm doing something a little bit different with the backgrounds. And that is I'm doing them in watercolor. So watercolor is one of my favorite artistic mediums, and I'm a big fan of Thomas Moran and Albert Birdstad, who did paintings of Yellowstone, and these are some of the reproductions of their work done in watercolor. And I love the vibrancy and color of it, and I want to do that or something like that for the comic. Now I knew this would be a challenge. This is a big challenge because watercolor has its own thing, but I wanted to try it. So to give an example of what I'm talking about, Vex, the villain, is a red and purple. And so I made his ship and some of his robots in that theme, red and purple. But I've also done other scenes like spaceship scenes and scenes of this alien new world that Willis Henry goes into, also in watercolor, just to get an idea of whether it would work. And you see a lot of this in chapters 1 and 2, but these are just examples of what I'm currently going for. So the process is I take the thumbnails that I did in comic form, I break those down and make the drawings of the characters themselves on a totally separate piece of paper. I draw them, then ink them, scan them into computer, color them in computer, and then I can have the watercolors below on a layer and then the characters above that. And then I can move the characters around almost like an animation cell where there's the background and then the characters done on top. That is the idea that I wanted for this comic. And so that is my big, bad, bodacious, scary goal. And now the saga continues. And every quarter, I will have an update, maybe quarters, 4 months, maybe something like that. I will go over the rest of where I'm at, where I'm going, what am I working through, the problems, the challenges, how I'm overcoming some of them, how some are just still holding me up as we make our way towards September of 2027. So I have been Trey Hodges. Thank you for joining me. So I have been Trey Hodges. Thank you for joining me. Power to all the creators, And I will see you in, well, for this, the next devlog. But other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Take care and keep shining. Finger guns. Bye.